In today's video, we are going to be talking about the top 5 pros and cons of living in a 55 and better active adult community here in the South Carolina Lowcountry. So if that's something that interests you, stay tuned because we're getting after it right now. Do you want to know everything there is to know about the South Carolina Lowcountry, whether it's Bluffton, Beaufort, Hilton Head Island, or Jasper County? Then subscribe below and tap that bell for notifications so you'll be the first to know about everything happening here. My name is David Simcox, host of this channel and a local real estate agent on the Lowcountry Lifestyles team. I get calls and emails every day from people just like you and you and you looking to make their move here, and I absolutely love it. So whether you're moving in 3 days, 3 months, or even 3 years, give me a call, send me an email, shoot me a text, or you can even book a Zoom call, all in the description below, so I can help you find your own Lowcountry lifestyle. Now, in today's video, we're going to be talking about some of the pros and the cons, the good and the bad of living in a 55 and better or a active adult community. So there are some great things, there are some not so great things, but I want you to know about all of them if you're considering an active adult community here. So without further ado, we will start off with the negative. So we'll start at number 5. So my number 5 negative of living in a 55 and better community is social expectations. So there's a lot going on in these clubs. A lot of times there are tons of amenities and there's hundreds of clubs and everybody's always doing something. And I've actually had people move here and they say, you know what, I don't really actually like to do that much. I don't really want to be pressured to be part of all these groups, and I don't want to be pressured to participate in all the neighborhood organizations and the parties and the block parties and all these social events. I would rather just kind of enjoy myself in my own house, keep to myself. I'm a kind of quiet person. I'm an introvert, and they feel like they're going to be pressured to participate in all this extra stuff. So that is perceived as a negative of living in a 55 and better community. Now, spoiler alert, you don't have to do anything. If you decide to move to one of these communities like Sun City or Latitude Margaritaville or Four Seasons or The Haven, if you want to participate in all that stuff, that's fine. And if you don't and you want to keep to yourself and just hang out at your house and hang out in your yard, yes, your neighbors might stop by and they might still invite you to things, but you don't have to say yes. And I don't think there's going to be an overwhelming pressure to do these things, but I think some people perceive that. So now let's move on to something positive, a pro. My number 5, we're working backwards today. So my number 5 is that I believe they have more thoughtful floor plans that are specifically designed for the stage of life that people are getting to when they get into their 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s. Primarily that the entire neighborhoods are typically ranch style homes. So they're single family homes. There sometimes are options for like a loft, but for the most part, they are single family homes. Also, I feel like the layouts are very conducive to this stage of life. They're not huge square footage. It's usually either like 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms so that you have somewhere for yourself and or your spouse. And then you also have a guest bedroom for kids and family and friends and people that come to visit whenever they come. But a lot of times you can also get a 2 bedroom, 2 bath plus what they call a den. So you have like a workspace as well. And then sometimes you're getting up into a 3 bedroom, 3 bath. And of course you can get a little bit bigger than that, but I'd say the majority of them are smaller square footage, and typically a 2 bedroom, 2 bath plus a den is probably the most common thing that I see. But there are options for a little bit more, but they are ranch style. You know, a lot of times you see these 0 entry showers that are real easy to get in and out of. You a lot of times see these big super showers in the primary bathrooms. So you have lots of room. I've seen other things. I've seen where a while ago, Sun City was like raising the dishwashers up a little bit higher so people have an easier time getting down and getting the dishes in and out. I think they stopped doing that. But a lot of times they'll make a few different little design options in these communities to, just be thoughtful about, folks that are aging. Even though they're aging, they're healthy and they're active. It's homes that aren't necessarily built up on an elevation or a raised slab. They're typically on grade slabs, so it's easy to get in and out. So anyway, I think they have well thought out floor plans. Now let's go back to the negative side. So now we're going in reverse. We're down to number 4. So number 4 is restrictions on visitors, in particular grandkids. So in a lot of these communities, as long as people are over the age of 19, they could live with you full time in an age-restricted community. But if they are below the age of 19, so grandkids basically is what we're talking about here, you're going to be limited on the number of days that they can spend with you. And each neighborhood's a little bit different, but they're trying to prevent, grandkids being raised full time in the neighborhood. Now, with that being said, I just want to say that they're not going around door to door. There's no police force that's out there checking your house to see if your grandkids are, staying an extra day or an extra night. They're not making them check in and check out or anything like that. The only time you're ever going to have a problem is if you had your grandkids for a long, long time and some nosy neighbor decides to turn you in and say, these guys are raising their grandkids in this house. So other than that, it's not really a big issue. But, there are those restrictions in place. And if you don't want somebody telling you how long your grandkids can stay at your house, then maybe the 55 and better community might not be the right choice for you. So anyway, they also restrict on that side when and where the grandkids can go to the pool. So for example, Sun City has a bunch of different swimming pools, and they basically rotate which day of the week grandkids are allowed at each pool. So if you love going to this one particular swimming pool, there's only going to be kids doing cannonballs and screaming one day of the week at that particular pool. And then the next day they'll go to a different pool and a different pool. If you're over at Latitude Margaritaville, they don't allow grandkids in the main resort style pool. They actually have a separate swimming pool for the grandkids to use. And then if you're at Four Seasons or if you're at the Haven, they just restrict the hours that they can be in those pools. So some people don't like those restrictions. Don't tell my grandkid what they can and can't do. If that's you, maybe the 55 and better is not the right choice. Now let's go back over to the positive side. So now we are on pro number 4, and that is safety. A lot of people love living in 55 and better communities because it is extremely safe. It's probably the safest place to be within a several 100-mile radius. You're behind gates. There are cars driving, and there's patrol cars driving around. Like in Sun City, I think they have maybe 6 of their own patrol cars that are driving around 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You've got gates, you've got guards at the gates, and then once you're inside the gates, the roads are actually lower miles per hour. So I think in a lot of them, it's like 20, 25 miles per hour in the residential areas. So it's safe to drive in, not heavy traffic. People are not speeding through there. And, the odds of any sort of crime happening in there is little to zero. So if safety is a big concern for you, then definitely you're going to want to consider the 55 and better communities. So now let's go back over to the negative side. All right. So we're going to go to con number 3. And con number 3 is higher HOA, or we call them POA fees. And I don't think they're that high, but for some people that are moving in, particularly, I found people moving from the Midwest, a lot of times they don't live in these planned communities with HOA fees. They just kind of live in a town, and all the houses are just kind of out in the town and general neighborhoods that you don't actually pay to live in your neighborhood. So here in the South Carolina Low Country, and in particular in and around Bluffton, pretty much every neighborhood has a POA fee because they are these planned communities. And if you're in just kind of a general neighborhood, maybe they just have one swimming pool in there and maybe a tennis court, you might only pay like $700 per year to live in that neighborhood. But if you live in one of these age-restricted communities, they do have higher fees because they provide more. They provide more amenities, more lifestyle, more clubs. So just as an example, like Sun City is the biggest active adult community in our area. And depending on whether you live in the Jasper County side or the Beaufort County side is going to determine your POA fees, but they're going to range anywhere from $2,688 per year up to $3,425 per year. And if you were living in Latitude Margaritaville, in a standalone home, you're going to be paying about $3,573 per year. If you're in the Haven, you're going to be paying about $3,048 per year. And if you're in Four Seasons, you're going to be paying about $2,880 per year. Now, let me tell you what you get for the money, though. For example, you're going to get resort-style amenities. You're going to get swimming pools. You're going to get fitness centers. You're going to get golf courses. You're going to get all kinds of activities. You're going to get hundreds of clubs that you can be a member of. You're going to get an events calendar. So every single day of the week, there could be 20 or 30 different things happening, and you just pull out your app and you say, what do I want to do today? You know, do I want to go see a guest speaker talk about this or that? Do I want to go on a nature tour? Do I want to go to ballroom dancing? Do I want to go to yoga? There's always something going on. So are the POA fees a little higher? Yes, they are. But do you get a lot of bang for your buck? Absolutely. Now, to put that further into perspective, those fees are ranging anywhere from about, $2,000 to like $3,000 and change. There are neighborhoods here in Bluffton that are charging $20,000 and $30,000 a year to live in those communities. And in my personal opinion, they don't offer as much amenities and lifestyle as these 55 plus communities do. So that's why I say that yes, it's a little bit higher, but yes, you're getting a lot of bang for the buck. All right, so that kind of ties into pro number 3, and I touched on it, but I'm just going to reiterate it. The pro number 3 is the amenities and the clubs and the lifestyle. There's nothing like it. When you move into one of these active adult 55 and better communities, it's really like going back to college again, only a year later in life. So you've got all these clubs you can join. Like at Sun City, they've got probably 200 clubs you can join. And every year they're going to have what they call the club fair, where all these people come out and they set up tents, and their representatives from these different clubs are going to try to talk you into joining their club. Anything from woodworking clubs to travel clubs to wine clubs, book clubs, nature clubs. I mean, anything you can imagine. I've talked about it on this channel before, but I've met guys that are in the ukulele club, and who would have known that there's 200 guys and ladies who are in the ukulele club in Sun City. So anything and everything that you'd want to participate in, there's going to be people that are doing that you can get involved in. Same thing with the events calendar. I mean, there's so much going on every single day, probably 20, 30, 40 things happening in these communities that you can tap into and participate in. Sun City has a performing arts center, so you can go watch shows. You can watch like Vegas style acts. You can watch musicals and plays and magicians and comedians. And I mean, you can play golf, you can play tennis, you can play pickleball, you can ride your golf cart around. The lifestyle in these places is like nothing else. So the clubs and the activities and the event schedule is definitely one of the biggest pros to living in a 55 and better community. Now, let's go back over to the negative side. Now we're down to number 2, con number 2, and that is the rules and restrictions. And I actually made a kind of funny video about this about a year and a half ago about the craziest rules in Sun City, but all of the communities that are age restricted have more rules. And part of those rules are to protect the quality of life and protect the investment that you've made in this asset. So I actually see those rules as a good thing. But like Sun City alone, the rule book is like 90 pages long. And there's rules about like you can't leave your garage door open all day because your neighbors don't want to see all your junk in your garage if you have a bunch of junk in your garage. So if you love to hang out in your garage, you got to get one of these special screens to put up so your neighbors, so you can be out there and they don't know what you're doing. But there's rules about landscaping. There's rules about leaving lights on outside. There's rules about, what color you can paint your house. There's rules about what plants you can have. There's rules about, everything and anything. And again, some people get overwhelmed. I had one guy that moved in and he ended up moving out because he was like, you know what? I just don't like people telling me what to do. I'm kind of an independent soul and I don't like being told what to do. Okay, so if that's you, you might not like all the rules, or you might want to read the entire rule book before you decide to purchase in there. But for other folks, they love the rules because the rules mean that everybody's following the same rules, and that keeps it nice for everybody. It keeps the properties nice, it keeps the behaviors nice. You know that somebody's not going to be out in their front lawn blaring the loud music while they're washing their car, and you know, not everybody wants that, and you got to bring your trash can back after a certain amount of time. You can't just leave your trash out on the road indefinitely. So rules are good and rules are bad, and if you don't like rules, it might not be the right choice for you. So we're going to move over to pro number 2. We're getting close to the finish line here for this video. I will say that pro number 2 is being around like-minded individuals at a similar life stage. So it's something kind of special about moving into a 55 and better community and entering this amazing stage of life that you've worked so long for and you've set your money aside so long for, and now you're retired and you're living this amazing lifestyle and you're entering into this chapter of life with a group of people that are also entering this chapter of life at the same time. So really, you're going on this new exciting journey together. And I'd say that this is maybe even more so when you're purchasing new construction, because sometimes if you're buying a resale home, you're moving into a neighborhood where maybe people have already been retired for 5 or 10 or 15 years and you're kind of the new kid on the block. That's okay. They're going to welcome you into the community. But when you buy new construction in one of these neighborhoods, it's really cool because everybody is buying at the same time, going down that street. Everybody's closing within a month or two of each other, and everybody's making new friends. Everybody's joining new clubs. Everybody's going to each other's houses for drinks or appetizers, and everybody's like on this new journey. I mean, again, I always relate it to when you go to college for the first time and you remember that first day at college and your parents drop you off and you go to your dorm room and everybody's new and everybody's meeting new people, and then you're deciding if you want to pledge a fraternity or a sorority, and you're deciding if you want to play extracurricular sports, and you're deciding what clubs you want to join, and you're finding your way around and you're checking out the campus. And it's kind of the exact same thing, except, you know, many years later in life. So going on this exciting new journey with all these new people is really, in my opinion, a very huge benefit and a really, really cool thing. All right, so now we're gonna jump over to the last con. So con number 1, and that is limited age diversity. Again, where the last one was talking about everybody entering the same stage, again, when you move into a 55 and better community, everybody is over 55. And I've had a lot of people that tour around with me in these communities, and they say, David, I actually like being around kids. I like seeing kids out riding around on their bikes. I like, you know, having kids stop by and wave at me in my yard, or, you know, they like the young families around. And I just don't know if I would like being surrounded by all people of the same age. So again, if that's you, take that into consideration, because it's real. Like, you move into these places and everybody is in their retirement years. And if that bothers you, maybe think twice about doing this. If you like having kids around, you like that energy, you like that excitement, or, you know, you just want a lot of diversity of different families and lifestyles and that sort of thing, then maybe the age-restricted 55 and better communities are not right for you. But if you're okay with everyone being at that retirement age, then it's the perfect place. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that up because some people really are bothered by the fact that there's no like kids running around. That brings me to my last pro, and it kind of relates to the fact that there's no kids around, but my last pro is that it is quiet and peaceful. It's a very quiet and peaceful environment. And so you're not going to have, at the swimming pools, like I said, you're not going to have the kids doing the cannonballs and screaming. You're not going to have kids leaving their bikes out in the streets. You're not going to have some guy, working on his car up on blocks, blaring loud music next door. You're not going to have the loud, noisy, obnoxious neighbors. It's beautiful in these places. It's quiet, it's peaceful, but it's not like everybody's just staying in their house, being super peaceful and quiet. I mean, people are still out riding their bikes around, they're out playing tennis, they're walking their dogs, they're talking to their neighbors, but it's not like obnoxiously loud and noisy. It's beautiful. A lot of these places have incredible landscaping and wildlife and birds and these lagoons. And I mean, it's gorgeous. So that quiet, peaceful, enjoyable environment, I think is, in my opinion, my number one pro to these age-restricted 55 and better communities. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed my updated list of pros and cons of living in these active adult 55 and better neighborhoods here in the South Carolina Lowcountry. And if I can help you find your own Lowcountry lifestyle, be sure and give me a call, send me an email, shoot me a text, or you can even book a Zoom call, all in the description below. And if you want to stay up to date with the latest and greatest happening here, be sure and like, subscribe, and tap that bell for notifications so you'll be notified every time I drop a new video. It's been my pleasure spending time with you today. I hope to meet you in person at some point, but if not, I'll see you on the next video. Again, my name is David Simcox with the Lowcountry Lifestyles team, and it's been a pleasure.